Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. Welcome to Healers Talk Healing. On this episode, I'm thrilled to introduce to you Shanaz Kalantar, a prominent gut health, wellness, and nutrition educator who has turned her personal struggles into a pathway for healing others. Known affectionately as Shaz, she's become an influential coach through a unique blend of education and life experiences. From a young age, Shaz faced numerous health challenges, including acne, candida, and IBS, which were further complicated during her time as a national Olympic gymnast. Despite these hardships, including severe dizziness and multiple concussions, Shaz's resilience shone through. It was through these trials that Shaz found her true calling, transitioning from a corporate fitness and wellness consultant to an entrepreneur. In our conversation, Shaz shares how she overcame her health obstacles and now empowers others to take control of their wellness. She advocates for a committed approach to health transformation, emphasizing gut healing, mental clarity, and overall health management. Join us as Shaz unfolds her inspiring journey and actionable strategies for a healthier life. So I am excited for this episode because I have one of my besties' daughter on, Shanaz. I'm sure that's how you wanted to be introduced, but everyone heard the bio before, so we're all good. But
Yes.
It's exciting because we have never had like really alone time. So
Yeah.
to have this conversation in this format is pretty cool, I think. And
Yeah.
so Shanaz, as I always ask every one of our guests, what is your definition of healing?
I think healing is going through the dark to get to the light and finding like more pockets of peace in your chaos and just in the chaos of the world. That's what I feel like healing is to me.
Yeah, so I know that you know your well, part of your healing journey certainly started with you dealing with some certain circumstances that you had that you were trying to discover, you know, some solutions for. So
Yeah.
I'd really love to hear about, what was that impetus for you to start on, creating the business now that you've created, a big successful business helping, women deal with, gut issues. But what was the catalyst for you?
That led me to like doing it as a business or to heal myself, like healing
Like,
myself.
yeah, just like what was your we all have something, right? Something that helps us, something that gets us on this healing journey.
For
For
sure.
me it was experiencing abuse for many years, and then some things always like that thing that's like, okay, this is what I need to do in order to
Yeah.
start feeling better.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it was adult acne that was like very persistent, but then more concerning was brain fog, lightheaded spells, and fainting at quite a young age.
Mhm.
So it was concerning because it held me back from achieving a lot of my goals. It was stopping me from doing well in school. And it was also just dangerous, like I could get behind a wheel and feel fine. And then all of a sudden get these lightheaded and dizzy spells.
Mm.
So that really made me realize, like, like I'm 20 years old, I shouldn't be experiencing these symptoms. And what really propelled me into healing myself and also like helping other people is not getting any help with traditional doctors in this specific situation because it's not well known, it's not well studied about the gut microbiome and how the gut brain connection is. So I realized that I wasn't really getting answers when I went to the doctors. They'd say, just rest more, just sleep more, just exercise more. And it was very surface. And I was like, these are really concerning symptoms, and I'm not really getting an answer. So it forced me to learn how to heal myself, which in turn helps me heal other people.
So what was that journey like? Because I think there's so many people. I've heard this story about going to, who we think is supposed to help us work out, symptoms that we don't understand, and we're
Yeah.
not getting answers. So what was the first step that you took out, once you felt that the doctors weren't supporting you in a way that would give you a solution?
My first step was trying to switch to holistic medicine and going through naturopathic doctors and
Mm.
getting the necessary testing that I needed to understand my root causes. And I did learn a lot in that path of like understanding that my gut was a big component to a lot of my symptoms and my hormones, because a naturopathic doctor can look at the same blood result as a traditional physician and give you very different results. So, and then in addition to that, like learning on my own, and just seeking answers within. Like I would ask, like, what do I need to do? Please attract the right people, places, medicines, supplements, food in order for me to like heal. So it was very inward. And I feel like that's what really helped me heal too, is like asking the right questions and then praying that I was attracted to the right people, places, and things.
I love that, because it's not the first time I've heard that inside of looking for physical health solutions, is to start looking at, well, are we asking the right questions? Are we at the right, like, energetic level? Are we putting out there what we really want to get back? So when you started this journey and you started working with a naturopath, I want the listeners to get, like, there are so many people that can support out there, that it doesn't that can, because I don't want to diminish our medical community. There is definitely a place for them. Like, in the event of an emergency, I don't think your
Yeah,
naturopath can actually help you. You
right.
need to go to the
100%.
hospital.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah.
but the thing is that I don't know if enough people understand that it's a multi-pronged approach. Like, you need a team, as well as that connection between your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul, where you're at. When did you discover that it's more than just physical?
Yeah. So it was actually working with a naturopathic doctor because again, I love their work. I admire their knowledge and I'm really grateful for my experience. But I asked them about nutrition and they were saying that nutrition didn't have much impact on my healing, which I thought was a bit concerning because I study nutrition and I knew there was a big correlation. And then also ask very spiritual questions like, I know trauma and pain can, revert inside and that could cause physical symptoms too. Like, what are your takes on that? And of course, that's not the right place to ask those questions. And I quickly realized, okay, I got what I needed from this experience.
Mm.
And now I need to figure out the mental, spiritual side and get more support because a naturopathic doctor is you're not allowed to just call them and text them, like again, very respectful of their practice, but legally they can't give advice outside their office. So there's only so much support that you can get.
Mm.
And um, I studied a lot. I learned a lot from my mom. I learned a lot from Deepak Chopra, just studying how you can talk to your cells. And on my free time, I would listen to affirmations to heal my cells and heal my body. So if I drove anywhere, I was listening to that. If I was, at the gym, I was listening to that. And I feel like that was really powerful of me trying to rewire my conscious and subconscious to learn how to heal myself too.
That's it's so important, and I think I'm glad that you're sharing that,
Mhm.
because for our listeners, I think it's important for us to drive home, us meaning like us as a whole, not
Yeah.
just you and me, but us as a whole community of healers, to drive home that how powerful our minds are, and that we
Yeah.
actually do have the capability of healing ourselves. We're meant to be in a state, in a space of healing or at full health, but there's so much that we do, or we experience, things that we have control over, things that we don't have control over, that impact um us at all levels, and we don't realize it. Like I just myself started learning how much trauma can impact, like, years and years down the road.
For sure.
You think you've dealt with everything, and then all of a sudden, why is my back hurting all the time for no reason? Why is this out of sorts? And it's physical. And you know my brain goes, wait a minute though, but I thought I dealt with all this. Maybe
Yeah.
mentally, but
Mhm.
not on, at a deep level. So when you're working with your clients,
Mhm.
where do you usually start with them?
Yeah. So typically we just start to make sure we're a good fit, like I want to make sure that what they're experiencing, I've experienced personally because I love having the empathy and I love showing them like, hey, I was in your position and I'm on the other side. And I've
Mm,
helped heal so many people in this exact same position. So I really specialize in like people that have hormonal imbalances, candida overgrowth, parasitic infections for a specific reason because I went through that. And then we can do a stool test. So oftentimes, if a doctor hasn't conducted a stool test, I can set that up for them so that we can see exactly what's going on physically in the gut. I do like a really deep health assessment with them, which asks these important questions about, what is your trauma? How do you practice self love? How do you practice self care? Do you have support? What are your main stress factors? What is your relationship with food? What foods make you feel sick? Like all these kind of things on a mind, body, and soul level. And then for me, support is everything. I always offer like unconditional love and unlimited tech support because I think love heals and I think support is everything when you're going through such a difficult time. So that's pretty much my process. And we do lots of check ins, of course.
mm.
Yeah.
So how do actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you a different question. My next question is, well, what is your routine now that you are sort of on the other side?
Yeah.
What do you do in order to keep everything balanced?
Yeah, for sure. So I still really prioritize the mental and spiritual aspects because that is the foundation, and when you are under a lot of stress and you can find, like I said, you can find peace in the chaos and you learn that power, then that can never be taken away from you because you can't control the external factors. You can only control the inside. So I still make a lot of time to practice my meditation, my breathing, watching my thoughts if they're getting to a point where they feel really fearful and overwhelming. And nutrition for me is like my passion, my love. So it's very easy for me to eat like healthy foods and keep a good gut microbiome, which means like really making sure I'm not indulging in sugar because that's like the biggest trigger for gut dysbiosis and also hormonal imbalances. Just it causes so much inflammation, so I eat mostly like a gluten-free diet. And again, this is not for everybody, but it's just what works for me. Everyone has their own unique, diet and what works for them. But yeah, I practice a lot of gratitude. I eat well, I exercise, I try to connect with nature. And I think that's where my power lies.
Mm. Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is like that, the multi approach. Now,
Mhm.
I think that, I'm not sure if you agree with me, but I feel like the, healing and looking at gut health and looking at your liver and looking at, your physicality is something that's fairly new in the Western world. You know,
Yes.
for, yeah,
Mhm.
2 or 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't have heard about gut health and the
Yeah.
connection, mind body connection to that. Um, what do you what do you why do you think that is now, that this is now becoming a huge topic of conversation?
Yeah, I think it's really sad that it's only now because your gut is 70% of your immune system, which is a very big portion, and so much hormonal activity happens in the gut. But why it's happening now is a few reasons. One, there were a lot of influencers like me that started openly talking about it. Like I started a YouTube page in 2015 being like, "Hey, I'm Shaz and nobody knows what's wrong with me, but I have these symptoms and I'm gonna share my experience." And that's kind of how like my business started. And so many people commented, like, I have those symptoms too, and all that kind of stuff. And gut health really started trending, to be honest, not just because of me, but because a lot of people started opening up and being honest about it. Um, and I do think our generation, as they're getting younger, being having more freedom to speak without feeling so fearful. So I think that helps. We have a lot more ability to say what we need to say and share this information over social media. Um, but also the way we grew up is very important to analyze.
Mm,
Like we were a generation that grew up on a lot of candy, and it doesn't matter where you live. We all somehow had the same childhood. Like we all ate Dunkaroos. We all had Gushers. We all, you know what I mean? We all had Dairy Queen and McDonald's and all the things, which is fine, but I think we were also overprescribed antibiotics a lot. Like back then, if you had an ear infection, antibiotics. If you had a little bit of a sore throat, antibiotics. Like there was no hesitation on giving the antibiotics, and that heavily damages the gut. And then not only that, we are a generation that has a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, and that requires a lot more medication. We are very much forced the birth control pill, again, which is a huge distributor for gut health. So there's a lot of reasons why the gut is more damaged in general,
mhm.
because there are a lot of older generations that are like, what is gluten free? I've eaten bread my whole life and had never had a stomach issue.
Mm.
So I think it's a generational thing, and that we're experiencing more gut issues, and that we have the ability to speak on social media and the internet to share what we're suffering with.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm of your mother's generation.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I can say about that is we did not learn to advocate for ourselves. We
Hmm.
we are a generation of, if the doctor says A, you don't
Yeah.
question the doctor, you do A, even
Right.
if you're like, I'm not sure. Like
Mm.
I'm at the point with my doctor now where I go in and I say, okay, this is what's happening. I think
Yeah.
this is what I need. And she just does a couple of checks and balances and she's like, here,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you're right. But when I was your age, if my doctor said to me this, and this,
Yeah.
like I was prescribed tetracycline for acne. Now that's
Right.
like, if anybody knows now what tetracycline does, it kills everything in your, like, good, bad, not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
terrible.
That's
And
still being
suffer.
prescribed, by the way.
Yeah, it's so funny because I didn't know that, because I was on the birth control at the time. We were
Yeah.
not told that, oh, by the way, when you're on birth control, by the way, your pills don't, you're on antibiotics, your pills don't work. Be nice if
Right.
someone said that.
Exactly.
Secondly, secondly,
Yeah.
I suffered with so many yeast infections and I didn't know why.
Right. Yeah.
And it was because of, being on tetracycline, I shouldn't have even been on the pill if I was on tetracycline. I think that's,
Right.
you know, now that I'm thinking about it, gosh, I've never actually told anybody about that. So I
Yeah.
think, for women and men of my age, we were in a space where like you listen to your teachers, you listen to the doctor, you did not question anything because we were brought up that way. You don't
Yeah.
question quote unquote experts or authority. So
Right.
I think that there is a benefit to
Yeah.
being of, how we say, oh, this generation.
Yeah.
Every generation, by the way, says that about the next generation.
Yeah, I know. It's silly. We should all be working together.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think there's a lot to learn cross generationally from everyone. Um,
Mhm.
but what was it? So what advice would you give to people who are unsure, like they're not feeling 100%, so they're
Mhm.
not going to the doctor, so we're not talking about it. I'm trying to, ask this. Basically, I want to know, what do we do when we're not feeling that great and we don't want to go tell anybody or talk to anybody, but you're not feeling good? There are people who still are afraid to even talk to a naturopath or a healer or a doctor or anything
Yeah.
because they're afraid. Join the Miracles Directory, where healers connect and wellness begins. Join a community of trusted holistic professionals, or find your path to healing and peace. Visit themiraclesdirectory.com. Start your journey today.
Yeah. Afraid, and also like money can be a big factor too. I think the best thing like is utilize what is free on the internet. And I know that can be not the best advice either, because there's so much on the internet. But even if you can start finding people that you feel called to listening, and you feel their energy from their video, and you go back to what I said is like, ask the right questions. Ask, who am I? What do I need to heal? What are the root causes of what is causing these pains? And just starting having that conversation with yourself, and allow yourself to receive information that to come to you if you're afraid to go out, and I think that's like the bravest thing you can do, is just be open to receiving.
So true. So I have some actual technical questions to ask you, because
Yeah.
you're a gut health expert,
Yes, of
which
course.
is, let's talk about sugar.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the sugar, because
Okay.
from my own personal research and understanding, sugar can be the enemy, but
Mhm.
it's also not always the enemy. It depends, from my understanding, depends on what kind of sugar you're filling your body with, because our bodies do need glucose to actually survive.
Okay. So firstly, sugar isn't glucose, it's sucralose. So that's just,
Mm.
glucose is fruit, glucose is vegetables, so you need that type of glucose to survive. You don't need sugar to survive. But
So
sugar,
yeah, just like, can clarify that more for
yeah,
myself and the listeners.
for sure. I don't think anyone should be afraid of sugar. And I think there's so much power in enjoying treats and, enjoying festivals and holidays. Like, that is not something to be afraid of. But what you consume on an everyday basis is it's unfortunate, but it is our responsibility to understand what we're putting in our body. So sugar on its own, cane sugar, there's nothing wrong with that. But where sugar is put in is a problem. Sugar is put
Mm.
in ketchup. Sugar is put in barbecue sauce. Sugar is put in teriyaki sauce. Sugar is put in every single granola bar. Sugar is put in bread. Sugar is put in your milk. Sugar is put in everything. And so they know, and science, they know that it's something that's very addictive. Like, there's so many studies that show that it's more addictive than cocaine. And it's also, you also have to understand, like, why is it that apples are more expensive than gummy bears?
Mm.
Right? Because there's a motive there. And again, it's unfortunate that it's our responsibility, because it shouldn't be, but that is something that we have to be aware of. And again, these are the questions you have to ask, like, why is that? Why is it that gummy bears are cheaper than apples? Right. And
Mhm.
I don't think sugar's the enemy. Like I said, cane sugar is not an enemy. But when you mix cane sugar with a hydrogenated oil like canola oil,
Mhm.
and then you add in dairy that's processed and heavily filled with hormones, and then you add in some flour that's straight white flour with no fiber, and you say, here's a muffin, there's no nutritional value in that, and it's just going to cause a lot of inflammation. But again, if you're having like cake on your birthday, or it's like, it's not to be afraid, but again, it's that rule of understanding. Every time you eat, you're either healing yourself or you're increasing your inflammation. It's every single time. You're either
Wow,
healing or you're increasing your inflammation.
that's
And
profound.
it's just a choice every single day. And if you decrease your inflammation to a point where you can enjoy a treat and your inflammation bar is not exploding, amazing. But if your entire body is so inflamed and you just keep eating all these things, that's when all these symptoms are so persistent and they won't go away until you decrease all that inflammation.
Okay. So let's go back to the difference between glucose and sucrose.
Glucose
Only,
is yes,
yeah.
glucose is what you need. It is brain power. That's what you hear. It's energy. Yes, glucose is a very complex molecule. That is bread and that is fruit and that is vegetables. People forget that vegetables are carbohydrates. I think like people just assume vegetables are just like vitamins and minerals. But like if you eat cucumber, that's still brain food, that's still energy. Although it's not caloric dense, it's not going to give you too much energy.
Mm,
It's still energy. So glucose is a complex molecule. Sucralose is a branch of glucose, and it's just the sugar. Just like there's fructose, which is also another form of sugar. And they'll try and trick you in the ingredient list. There's like over 20 different names for sugar alone,
wow.
just to keep you confused.
Okay. What are the top 3 confusing names?
Corn syrup is like one that you would think isn't sugar, but it is. Well, I mean, most people would know corn syrup is, but they'll do that. Also, another thing to remember in the ingredient list is it goes from most to least.
Mhm.
So if sugar is ever in the first ingredient, then that's always something you should never have, because that means it's mostly sugar. That's the number one ingredient, that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's sucralose, there's fructose. I think those are probably the biggest ones. But yeah, cane sugar is natural, and that is how it's made. Plant, that's the plant, cane sugar. And it's just what they do and how they make sugar. Like corn is a problem. They process that a lot, and that's where they get that high fructose corn syrup, and that's very,
Mm.
very inflammatory to the body.
Yeah, I've also myself been hearing a lot about inflammation, and there
Yeah.
are so many of us who walk around, we have no idea that we're even inflamed until it gets to a point where it's like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Your
now
bar's
we've
full.
got to like put the emergency button because we've got to stop everything and reset. So for from my understanding from some of the readings that I've done and the research that I've done, like most of us, just because of the way the world works and the way things are now, we're already inflamed. So we like kind of like we've got this like base level of inflammation.
Inflammation. Yeah.
So for those of us who are like base level inflammation, we don't really know if we're inflamed or not.
Yeah.
What can we do to reduce our inflammation, like when we're not in a space of 911
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's definitely things like anti-inflammatory diets, right? Where you eliminate a lot of inflammation foods like that, the canola oils, the sugars, the gluten, the processed gluten, right? The processed food in general. That's one of the best powers you can give. And I think it's hard because a lot of us struggle to be disciplined enough because there's too many temptations, and a lot of us aren't trained mentally to understand that we're doing this to benefit us, and we start to slip into victim mentality and like, oh, like I had a hard day, I deserve a donut, like this sucks, and that's fine, but again, that's how we're trained. So it comes back to that mental health. It's like, what do you want? What is best for you? What is your priority? And you have to keep that in mind every time you make a choice, and remind yourself every time I eat, I'm helping my healing or I'm causing more inflammation. So nutrition, there's what I do specifically is help people heal gut dysbiosis, that's something that's very important, because if you can heal any pathogens in the gut, like you said, yeast infections, that's a big sign of candida. If you have parasites, or if you have any type of symptoms that are concerning, you taking the time to clear your gut, do a gut cleanse or a liver cleanse. Like I know there's a lot of taboo around those things, but I always try to remind you, like, or remind clients and remind people that every time we eat, like I said, if you've been eating inflammatory foods for years and years and years and years and years, you think it could take on all. It's like someone who's constantly being hit every single day. Like, how much can you take?
Mm.
How much? When's your body going to be like? When is it my turn to breathe and have something to help me breathe and just take a rest, you know? So your gut will always need that because it's constantly working for you. Your liver is constantly working for you. All your detox organs, they crave a little bit of that refresh, restart. And a week of dedication, a month of dedication, 3 months of dedication is nothing compared to the years of all of the inflammatory foods you've eaten and choices, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because you touched a little bit upon, the I'm going to say this, I'm just going to say it like capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Where are we going to spend our, where are we going to spend the money? How can we get, and it's funny because I just earlier, recorded another guest, and we ended up talking about the same thing. It just keeps coming up is,
Yeah.
we are not a society
Yeah.
that is at the base level looking at health
Mhm.
as preventative care.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're a society, specifically in North America, that is really more about, let's just, take care of the symptoms and keep just taking care of the symptoms. So,
Mhm.
I have the big three, the top three. I have high blood pressure, which I've had since I was in my 20s. I have recently, in the last year, been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, which
Mhm.
I know are both things that I can take care of, and I'm
Yeah.
beginning to work on it. But I asked my doctor, I said,
Mhm.
okay, I'm well aware that diabetes, especially if I'm getting it in at this age in my 50s, is something that I can take care of. I know there's also the whole menopause thing. That's a whole other thing. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother show.
It is, yeah.
um, so when I asked her, okay, so what can I do so that I can get off these? I don't want to stay on these pills. I know I need them right now because my
Yeah.
levels are now at like a 911 level. So I need to make sure I
Yeah.
get that down quick. And she said, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to come off those pills.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, but just
Mhm.
everyone else out there is saying it's possible. So I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, again, you have to understand that like they don't get trained in nutrition. They're not trained on a holistic level, and that's okay. Like we said, we need them in emergency situations. We have to understand their strengths. They study disease and medicine. They always have a medicine, that's for sure. And that's how they make their money. And again, respectable. But if you are looking for that holistic, that preventative, that healing, it's just this is why I extend my service. And this is where you're going to have to understand, who do I go to for help? How do I understand how to nourish my body to decrease my insulin levels, to bring my blood pressure back down? What do I need to do on a consistent level? Because again, people are looking, when they come to me, I'm always like, I'm not your quick fix, girl. Okay. I am not, you're not going to come to me and get a special supplement, a special pill. Like, it does take work. That's why I always say it's going through dark to get to the light, because you have to completely reprogram yourself. You have to sit in the discomfort. You have to feel an uncomfortable symptom, even though you are working so hard, even though you're exercising, you're eating all the right things, and you haven't dropped a pound in a week. That's how it's going to go. That's healing. That's going through the dark to get to the light. It's trusting that process.
Mm,
So it's hard. It's hard. It's very, very triggering. It's very difficult. Like you said, people want what's comfortable. They want to surface. But there are so many people out there, and there are lots of things you can do nutritionally. Go inward, ask your body what it needs. Talk to your own cells and say, like, what do we need? What do we need, cells? Like, the
and I
doctor's
know.
not helping you anymore. So you help yourself, and you reach out for support when you need it.
I love that you said that, because I think, when we're talking to, listeners who are just maybe delving into this world of holistic healing and holistic health and the whole gamut of looking at more of a natural lifestyle, is the power of connecting and listening to your body.
Yes. Yes.
Like
Yeah.
literally asking, okay, Because your body, you're right. Your body will tell you if you're willing to listen. It's
Yeah.
not woo woo. It's not crazy. It's called that intuition that's going to
Yeah.
tell you and speak to you of what's going to work. I just did that the other day about something. I can't remember what it was. Um, oh, today while I was cooking, I wish I remembered so I could share that I was asking my body about something. My ear started ringing, and I'm like, oh, the guides are knocking on my door. What do you need to tell me? What do I need
Yes.
to do?
Yes.
I thought about this. Oh, I should remember this from my conversation with Shanaz, and I can't remember it now, of course.
It's okay. But I do want to emphasize that yes, ask yourself, but you should never, I don't believe anyone should heal alone, because we're strongest in a community. We're stronger when we work together. And again, the way our system is set up is to divide us. So I do believe that everyone has someone that could guide them, that could help them on their healing journey. No one can heal you, you heal you. But I do feel that there's definitely someone that's always a good fit for you out there that can help guide you and support you on your healing journey, for sure.
100%. I'm glad that you said that, because it's not possible. Honestly, from my own experience, it's not
Yeah.
possible because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm not a nutritionalist. I'm not a gut health expert. I'm not a liver expert. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not even like a somatic expert. So to release energy from my body, I'm not an expert in that. I had to learn to do breath work to start to understand. Oh, I went to an energetic healer. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of it is important you have a team.
Yeah.
Even like your medical doctor needs to be part of your team,
Yeah.
your naturopathic doctor, your whoever your experts are in your corner to help, because you just know there's something's not working.
Yeah. For
That's
sure.
for sure. I think we all know when something's not working and when something is physically, even mentally. We
Yeah.
know it's a matter of just asking for help, which many of us have a lot of difficulty doing. I am one of those people.
Yeah. It's also hard to invest into yourself. Like, you think it's like you're not worthy enough to spend money on yourself. And I think that's where a lot of clients like struggle with too when they meet me. They're like, you're my perfect match, but I am scared to pay for this, or I can't pay for this. And then I always am like, make sure you know that you know your worth. If you feel like I'm the good fit for you, because money is just energy. And if it means that we can exchange and you live your best self and then you vibrate higher and you attract more money, like that's how it would work for you. But
Mm,
it's really hard. It takes a lot of strength to get to the point of being like, okay, I'm willing to invest into myself and I'm
that's a
trusting
big
the
one.
process.
That's a
Yeah.
big one, especially for women.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we'll invest, and sometimes it's so subconscious you don't even realize you're doing it. You
Yeah.
don't realize how you're putting everybody first, because there's a little bit of like you get something from that too, right?
Yeah.
When you're giving, then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm spending time with my kids, I'm giving to my kids, oh, my husband, oh, I'm giving to, oh, my mother and my mother-in-law and everybody, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night. I ain't got time to invest in myself now. I need to go to
Yeah.
bed so that I can
Yeah.
reinvest in everybody else tomorrow.
Yes.
It's
Exactly.
a challenge. And I know you have two young ones. I was just
Yeah.
before we started recording, I was like, I don't know how you do all this and still work at home and get it all done. But I can tell by what you're sharing, it's like
Mhm.
you are ensuring that you are taking care of your mental health
Mhm.
and, pairing that with your physical health and
Yeah.
your spiritual health. And it's
Yeah.
not just like I said before, it's not a one pronged approach. And I'm really glad that you have those conversations with,
Mhm.
the clients who say, well, oh, I don't have the money. Because a lot of times sometimes it truly is about the money. And a lot
Yeah.
of times it is about the value. And it's not your value.
Yeah.
It's the value
It's
you see
within.
in yourself.
Yeah. And fear of not working, fear of, you feel like you're always going to be stuck in the symptoms and position you're going to be in, right? Like, look at the power of what your doctor told you and how it imprints you consciously, subconsciously, saying it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be on these pills forever. So now imagine you invest $1,000 into someone that says, oh, we can heal nutritionally, but your subconscious is still like, well, I don't think this is going to work because doctor said I'm going to be on pills forever.
Hmm.
So that's the power, and that's the fear, and that's what we have. We have all of those imprints.
Yes, indeed. And it's funny because there's a level of belief that you have to have subconsciously, even if I say to you, no, Shanaz, I believe that you can help me. And the little voice there, it's like, no, she can't, no, she can't, no, she can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it's just, again, going through the dark to get to the light. It's you facing yourself. That's how I
Yeah,
see.
that's powerful because it's not just about your gut health.
No,
It
never.
is facing yourself. And
Yeah,
I'm glad that you're saying that because a doctor won't say, okay, well, you got to get your emotions in check.
right,
Because, like, if you don't have your emotions in check, I can give you all this medication, nothing's going to work.
right.
Where
Yeah.
you're willing to say, listen, okay, I get that you have this, but do you
Mhm.
see that there's all of this buildup that has happened over years, all the
Right.
trauma that you've held in,
Yeah.
all of the things that you've never communicated that you should perhaps communicate and say and
Yeah.
hold in your body that impacts. It's not just the eating. I think that's what I want to get at before,
Yeah.
as we come to a close. This is what you've been saying the whole time. It's not
Yeah.
just the eating. It is, but
Yeah.
it's not the only thing.
Yeah. Well, it can't be when we are a spiritual being inside a physical body. How can we only focus on the physical? That doesn't make any sense. It's we have to focus on all of those aspects to heal for sure.
Amazing. Well, Shanaz, this has been such a fabulous conversation.
Mhm.
It was
Thank
so
you.
nice talking
You.
to you. But
Yeah.
how can we find you aside from the Miracles Directory? How can people connect with you and get your magic?
Yes. Okay. So my name is Shanaz, but I mostly go by Shaz, which is Shaz. So all of my platforms are Shazness Wellness. And I have a website, Shazness Wellness, Instagram, Shazness Wellness, YouTube, Shazness Wellness. It's all around TikTok, Shazness Wellness. You can find me on Shazness Wellness.
Amazing. And by the way, I've seen a lot of your Instagram posts, a lot of your reels. So for those of you who are, wanting to step into the water, tip your toe in, you can find her on the Miracles Directory, but you can also check her out on Instagram. I love your reels. I love when the kids are in the reels. They're so cute. Yeah, if you want to see her kids, check it out because they're adorable. So
Super
thank you
sweet. Thank
again
you.
so much, and we'll
Yeah.
talk again. Bye
Yes,
for now.
awesome. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.